Hopefully there's nothing wrong with my costume. I don't know, because I can't see no more. Took my glasses off. Okie pokey weirdos, I'm Rev, and welcome to my world of cosplay shenaniganery. Asmodeus. The hat, I honestly BS'd my way through it. I cut out EVA foam that was a rectangle and then cut one side at a sharp angle so there'd be more of a cone and the base would be a lot smaller than the top. For the base of the hat, or brim, I matched a piece of EVA foam to the size of the top of the head and cut it into the right shape. Then I hot glued the edges of the cone together. Yes, contact cement would have made this a lot easier if my contact cement hadn't dried out by that point. I trimmed away most rough edges on the cone, but I wasn't super worried about them because I was planning to cover this thing in more of the black recycled bed sheet. Any large gaps I filled in with wood glue. Next, I traced the top so that I could get the insert circle, shave that circle down so it would fit down inside the hat, and then I could move on to making the feathers. With wire boning that's usually used for corsetry, I was able to make the wire the stem of the feather, then cut out EVA foam strips that were 2 inches wide and only about 1 centimeter longer than the steel boning. I cut out 4 pieces of feather. I contact cemented the steel boning into the center and sandwiched it together between 2 EVA foam pieces. The excess was trimmed, these 2 feathers were dremeled and heat sealed. Use a mask for EVA foam particles too. Now it is painting time. Everything should have gotten an initial layer of white spray paint so that my colors would be more vibrant and so that the spray paint could help seal the foam. Did I think of this initially? No. The top of the hat got a number of layers of pink paint, and then I realized that this paint simply was not thick enough to handle this project. So everything got a spray paint coat of white and I could get back to painting the color on. The hat band got pink, so did the top of the hat and 1 feather. The other feather was painted blue. While the paint dried, I wrapped that hat in the thrifted fabric. Excess fabric that was coming up over the edges, I cut into wedges and hot glued down inside the foam cone. I also sewed that black fabric into a pillowcase shape to perfectly fit the hat brim. Finally, to the attachment mechanism. I shaped 2 donuts of about 3-inch foam so that they could fit snugly on my wooden dowel. This would help the hat hold its structure and keep it from collapsing, and the wooden dowel is actually the center pillar for the whole structure. And with this stick, I felt like Tebow from iCarly walking around with something that looked like bagels on a stick. Next, I whittled out a little hole in the hat brim so that the wooden dowel could go through that section and connect the cone and the brim. Once sufficiently fiddled, these pieces were all hot glued together. Top bagel, bottom bagel, brim to cone, and brim to the bottom of the dowel. Now the wooden dowel needed its little T shape on the end. So firstly, I recycled little plastic rolls from the doggy bags. I have reused these rolls so many times for various projects, things like my Mad Hatter bandolier. Firstly, I hot glued them on for an initial stick, then I wrapped them in yarn and continued adding hot glue while I was wrapping to use the same rule of more surface area covered, meaning less likely to be coming apart. Sadly, this did fall apart before I could finish that process, so I had to come up with a different idea. Therefore, I cut a section of the wooden dowel to be as long as those 2 little plastic rolls, and then used the hot glue and yarn wrapping method, but used wood glue to cement everything together before it fell apart. Again, contact cement would have been very helpful if it had not been dried out by this point. And when making the first head, I was running out of time to be able to finish the hat, so I didn't have time to run to the store and grab contact cement. Finally, I could finish painting and attach all the things. To attach the feathers, I hot glued them to either side. And then I used the hat band to help me hold them in place. I glued one edge of the hat band down and then slowly wrapped the hat band, hot gluing all the way around. Once the hat band was glued down, then I dumped a whole bunch of hot glue down either side of the feather to trap them under this hat band and keep them really well attached. Lastly, don't forget pet hair removal. This fabric picked up the hair from the project as well as my dog very easily, so I used some masking tape to quickly remove stuff. For good measure, I added some felt loops and little hair clips so that the clips could grab onto the fur at either end of the hat brim. And now that little T-shape can be slipped inside the slit at the top of the head, turned one direction, and then locked in by the layers of fur and foam at the top of the head. To remove it, twist it back the opposite direction it was turned to insert and pull it out of that little slit. I'm currently working on updating my Lucy Lacemaker fursuit, as well as working on any commissions that I pick up along the way. So you can follow any daily updates on my Ko-fi or Patreon. If you want to request a commission, it is also linked below. And you can check out any speedrun videos for commissions at Costume Creative Studios. I often make my full build costume videos through requests. So if there are any other costumes that you've seen me make that you would like to see a full build video on, you can leave a comment below or check out this video and comment on that one which costume you would like me to make a full video on next. I love all of my amazing weirdos so much, and I greatly appreciate all your subs, comms, thumbs, and a ding, and welcome to the madness.